All right, we're here. We're excited. This is Lowcountry Money Talk. Phil Bloyd is here with Revolutionary Financial Group, our expert in-house. We're going to talk about a lot of things going on. How are you?
There's a lot of things going on. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
You know what? There's a lot of changes to talk about today. We actually usually start the show by really talking about some of the current events that are happening. Really a lot to talk about. Let's start.
Okay. Let's talk about Social Security. What do you think?
I think we can talk about that. You know, big topic for folks.
Yeah, we've got a lot of our listeners affected. So the new rate for Social Security are an inflation increase of 8.7 for next year.
And that sounds like a really positive thing. Let's talk about the good and the bad.
Yeah. Okay, there's a reason that it went up 8.7%, right?
Yes.
It's CPI.
What's CPI?
The Consumer's Price Index.
Yes. Okay.
Inflation.
Yeah.
So an inflation adjustment. When's the last time that someone drawing Social Security can remember an increase of 8.7?
That's a large increase.
I don't remember.
We should be celebrating.
Well, the problem is, you know, we've talked in the past, Jessa, about, kind of the government spending going against what the Federal Reserve's trying to do.
Right.
So mortgage interest rates are around 7% now, heading towards 8 maybe.
Ooh,
so
big hikes there.
They want to slow all of that down. So the Federal Reserve, they call it a tightening. So basically they want to slow the economy down because there's so much money out there, so many dollars, and the more dollars are out there, the less the value, and there's nothing to buy with these dollars.
Yes, okay. So maybe on an individual personal level, you can celebrate the increase in Social Security. However, big picture,
it's
maybe not
going
the
to add
greatest.
to inflation because there's going to be more dollars in the system, just like the government spending. So it's probably going to take even longer to get control of inflation because there'll even be more dollars, but it's good for the retirees because now maybe they can take less out of their retirement plans.
Okay, so that's a good thing for them. Okay, big picture. Yeah, it's tough to navigate, but let's talk about standard deduction changes because that has had a pretty significant increase as well.
That helps everyone, but again, there'll be more dollars in the system. So the IRS, you can go to irs.gov, or we'll put up in the screen the numbers between last year and this year. So if you're married and you file a joint return, the standard deduction is going up to $27,700. Meaning that you're not going to pay any taxes on that 27. So it's gone up $1,800.
Okay, so $1,800 increase. Sounds good.
Yeah, but there'll be more dollars in the system.
More dollars in the
What are we
system.
going to buy? There's, I went to try to buy some eggs this week. I'm a little strange about this.
Okay,
eggs.
yeah.
I had to go to 3 or 4 different places, which is ridiculous.
It's like the people who drive around looking for the best gas prices. You're driving around looking for eggs. You're spending your gas looking for eggs. Okay.
So the egg prices are ridiculously crazy.
Yeah, they
You
really
can
are.
almost buy a hamburger for what you're buying.
It's a good time to be vegan.
Jeez. Well, and I like to choose. I might want some brown eggs. You got your cage-free, your brown eggs, non-cage, whatever.
Yeah, free range.
Hey,
I like
$7, $8 for some eggs.
Yeah, you really.
What the heck?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's bad.
That's bad. The egg prices are bad. Check. Okay.
Check.
Let's talk a little bit more about the bracket change.
Okay.
What does this mean for us? And you're relating it a little bit before we got started to Roth conversion. So explain that to our viewers.
Okay. So not only is the standard deduction going up, but the brackets are moving up as well. So as far more to our advantage. So going all the way up to the 22% tax bracket, they're expanding. So in other words, I may spend a little more time in the 12% bracket. I may spend a little more time in the 22% bracket, the 24% bracket. So don't hold me to this exact number, but I may get a benefit on Roth conversions of maybe another $20,000. And compared to what if I did $20,000 last year, maybe I could do $30,000 or $40,000 this year and the taxes may be pretty similar.
Wow.
So we need to use these brackets as a tool when we're looking at, hey, we want to go ahead and pay down some taxes on these pre-tax items,
right,
especially as the market's down, so we can get some double discounts, you know?
So smart how you're on top of all this and making these adjustments along the way for folks. All right, brackets, standard deductions, Social Security, and eggs have all changed. We've got more for you coming up after the break on Lowcountry Money Talk. Back in, you're watching Lowcountry Money Talk, and at the top of the show, we looked at some current events and some changes. Phil Bloyd is always filling us in on the latest and greatest. More importantly, though, what it means for us, and that's where we're going to dive in today, Phil. So, you've come prepared with some interesting audio clips for us. So let's have our viewers take a quick listen, shall we?
And I think for so many people looking at their mortgage payments, worried about whether they can now afford to pay them, they're not just frustrated but angry because the government has lost control of the economy.
We're seeing an extraordinary series of moves by central banks around the world, and not exclusive to Europe, but in places such as Indonesia and the Philippines, moving their benchmark interest rates up. And this is all in reaction to a common foe, which is inflation.
You're living through 12 months with only 11 months pay now because inflation is so high. We warned the Democrats not to do that American Rescue Plan, but it wasn't just us warning them. Larry Summers, a Secretary of Treasury Democrat, told them don't do it, you'd bring inflation.
All right, interesting stuff. So let's talk about what this really means. In the last segment, we really talked about Social Security going up. There was an increase. The reason, though, is inflation. So let's kind of unwrap that a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so we talked about a good thing and a bad thing. The bad part, again, is it's putting more dollars in the system. Now, according to what we just heard, you know, this is not just a U.S. issue. This is kind of a worldwide thing. And, you know, some of the things that have been happening in England specifically lately, you know, their prime minister only served for 7 weeks and then she resigned again. So their inflation is more than ours. They're over 10%. Wow. And their central banks are really having a hard time. So obviously the central banks, remember our central bank, they were calling inflation transitory.
Right? Yes, there's new words we're learning
new
here.
Word, well, they hung on to that as long as they could, and they hung on to it probably a little too long, and then they're way behind the 8 ball. So now they have to do these interest rate cuts, and we see the market. Well, you know, we talked about bear traps, remember that on some of our shows? So the market reacts to information that's not really panning out quite true. So a couple of the bear traps, the market's always saying, well, the Fed's gonna slow down. The Fed's gonna slow down. And then when they find out they're not, then the market sells off again.
Right. And it's interesting because you talked about bear traps on one of the episodes, and then it wasn't but a few days later that we saw that happen. And now we're going for round 3. One of the clips talked about living through 12 months with only 11 months pay. I thought that was a really interesting statement. Gets my mind thinking a little bit about jobs and what we're going to be seeing going into the rest of this year and beginning of 2023. So let's talk a little bit about unemployment and really what effect that has on the stock market.
So people think, Jessa, well, the employment numbers came out and unemployment went up. Why did the stock market go up?
It's not intuitive.
It's bad news, right?
Yeah, right.
It's bad news, but then yet it's good news, kind of like the Social Security we've been speaking of. So bad news, people are thinking, and the stock market's thinking, well, if unemployment is going up, then the slowdown is happening that the Federal Reserve is trying to accomplish by all these interest rate hikes. So the more unemployment, which we would normally think, hey, that's a bad thing.
Sounds bad, right?
The market's liking it because they're saying that we're getting closer to stabilizing the inflation, and maybe the Federal Reserve will back off of those interest hikes.
So big picture, maybe unemployment is a positive change under the circumstances. It's a tough call. Good, bad. Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
the good news for you, for us, is that we have more Phil coming up. We got half a show left to really unpack what's all going on and what it means for you, especially those of you who are in or nearing retirement. Thanks, Phil.
All right.
It's Lowcountry Money Talk. We'll be right back. All right, we promised you more of Phil Bloyd, and we always deliver on our promises.
Yes.
We've got him right here. He stuck around.
Hey,
Thanks.
I'll try to run out of here, but
we don't let you go. No,
couldn't get out.
We got more questions.
Okay,
more to
let's
talk
do it.
about. For our viewers who are just tuning in, you may have noticed we spent a little bit of time talking about eggs.
Yes.
Eggs are very relative to our next conversation because we noticed, we're talking about the increases, right? You're talking about CPI, Consumer Price Index. Got to remember these acronyms now. But a lot of those increases are due to food costs.
The last one, for
A lot
sure.
of people are frustrated about the eggs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Well, let's see, on our report here, 60% of the increase of the last CPI was traced to food prices. So we know that food price, gotta eat.
Gotta eat.
You know,
Yes,
be a
we
good
do.
time for me to take off a few pounds.
I don't
you
know,
know,
maybe, but.
If I don't eat eggs, I'm gonna eat something else that's probably not good for me. maybe.
Yeah, that's the truth.
But,
Okay,
you know,
but we all need to eat, and
right.
we are all paying more
Right.
to do so.
Yep, more to eat. Then we also rent. If we're paying rent was a big part of that increase the last time.
Yeah, that's tough for renters, you know, dealing with increases because, you know, you've got your amounts that you budget for, and renters don't want to see those increases.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Well, and then like on our audio clip, now we have 11 months income to pay for 12 months expenses.
Right.
For a lot of people, that extra month is going on the credit card.
And exactly. Where else are you going to get the other month's expenses from? So you put it on your credit card, charge the rest, pay for it later, kick the can down the road. But what's the main problem with putting it on your credit card?
Rates are going up.
So you have more
pay
debt,
more.
you're
Yeah.
paying more for your debt. So people who aren't able to make ends meet are seeing this compounding issue.
What if they get laid off?
Now we're really in trouble.
Okay, so that, you know, and that's kind of what the Fed is pushing us to. So, you know, you hear about the shipwreck or the soft landing or some whatever acronym they're using, and it's going to be very difficult because there's too many moving pieces. The Fed has been wrong. They were wrong about inflation in the beginning, and all of a sudden they're going to have a wake-up moment and get everything right. I've got a hard time believing that.
Snap into place, it all works out. Well, let's talk a little bit with the couple minutes we have left about outside of rent, what's going on with home building, homes for owners, for those who are buying and building. Now here it doesn't feel like there's much of a slowdown, but there actually has been a slowdown, and of course then across the country there's going to be a major slowdown.
Well, I mean, you know, this may be one of the last places, who knows, but it will affect us. You know, everyone is going to be affected. With the mortgage rates going over 7%, what you're going to see, and what we have seen, is a slowdown in building. I mean, how many jobs are tied to building a new home?
Oh gosh, so many, right? How many contractors?
Wow, that's our economy, though. The supplies, the lumber, the cement, you know, the labor, ordering of materials, all of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's so many jobs. That's why when we look at the home numbers, that it's a big indicator because there's so many jobs related to that.
Right, and so many of these people that are doing these types of jobs are needing affordable housing. The affordable housing is getting tougher and tougher to come by.
Yeah.
There's a lot of dominoes here in play.
You know, unfortunately, and I would like to be positive, we started positive because we were talking about,
okay.
you know, here's some tax things that are changing for next year. Use these to your advantage. Maybe we can have a new income plan where we're taking less of our retirement income. Maybe we're doing more conversions because our equity part of our portfolio is depressed. So maybe we want to pay taxes on it now while it's low. And now we get get some even better tax brackets, so that's kind of a double coupon for those that collect. But I still think we have a lot in front of us, you know, to deal with still.
Yeah, well, definitely. We're not done dealing with stuff.
Yes. To be technical.
We've got more stuff coming up after the break. We'll wrap it up for coming up next. Stick around. Welcome back into our final segment. Oh man,
it went fast.
It flies by, boy.
Absolutely.
But we always have lots to talk about. I always learn a lot. Lots going on. There's good, there's bad. We've weighed the differences, the pros, the cons. A lot of tough stuff though.
Sure.
So now is a really good time if you've been watching this and feeling maybe a little bit confused or unsure or not really sure where you sit to really dive in and take a hard look at what you have going on with your own portfolio. How risky are you? Are you taking care of these changes? All of that, very important timing for that. So if you want to do that, our viewers actually can get a free risk assessment and portfolio analysis with Revolutionary Financial Group. You call Rachel, she'll tell you what to do, and you take it from there.
Yeah. Come in, we'll look things over, give you a few pointers and see what's going on. Now's a great time.
Now's a good time. You have to have a plan. You got a plan for good, you have a different plan for bad, you got a plan for changes, and you all are so good at doing that. Because it's been a little bit of a downer today, maybe we can put things into perspective for our viewers and talk a little bit about, you know, how things are now versus some tougher times.
Sure.
Got a statistic or really a historical fact for you all. Many of our viewers will remember Black Monday. Black Monday took place at 1987, October 19th to be exact, where the largest ever one-day percentage decline in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, dropping 508 points at 22.6%. Remember, that is one day.
Yeah, but now if it drops 508 points, that's not much.
Well,
it's still not good,
not
but
good.
it's not 22%.
No,
because the index was much lower then, right?
Let's talk about that percentage, though. That's a better
22%,
comparison.
Right. So year to date, the S&P index is down. I think the Dow's down about 17-18%. The S&P 500 index is down 21 to 23. If we go back to 2008 and 9, now it surprises me, Jessa, how many people have already forgotten about 2008 and 2009.
Yeah.
That was a major.
I didn't forget.
Okay.
I was in the category of wrong decisions in at the wrong time. It was a tough one.
That S&P index went down 50%.
Yeah.
And it took over 5 years to get back to where it was. 5 years.
Yeah, which is average, right, from what I'm learning.
Well, the other thing though, what if I'm 75?
Right.
5 years to me at age 75 is a lot longer of a period and more severe, especially when I'm not working any longer, than if I'm, say, 45 and I'm still working and I'm putting money into a 401k or something like that.
You can weather the storm better at an earlier age.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I would advise people watching, our viewers, is let's get a plan together, okay? These new tax rates start January 1st.
Yes.
Don't let them go to waste.
Right.
You know, inflation's going to be tough for a while, but we have some lines thrown out to us, some rescue lines. If we don't use them, you know, it just goes by, you know. Let's use the tax rates to our benefit. We can use these. We can turn a negative into a positive.
There we go. We've turned a positive into a negative into a positive. Right. We've done it all.
Well, with planning.
Yes,
so
yes.
Let's take a look at the year to come. Now's the great time. I know we got the holidays ahead of us and stuff, but let's start investing in this. Let's take charge of our own situation and don't let, you know, circumstances dictate to us. Let's empower ourselves again. Let's take our income and say, okay, how can I be wiser about where I'm taking my income from and how much I'm losing to taxes? Can I change that around? Most people can. but they just don't take the time. Oh, well, I'll just take it from here. Wait, let's do a little planning here. Let's take grip on these new expanded brackets in the tax code and the standard deductions. Let's take the market that's down and turn that into a positive in our benefit to pay taxes maybe on some of the values while they're low, because guess what? Eventually, just like in 2008, 2009, the time's gonna end and we're gonna go right back up again.
Yeah, that's one thing. I mean, I've taken away a lot from you, Phil, doing this show, but how much money you can save in taxes by being strategic, getting ahead of things, looking at changes, making those adjustments.
Yeah.
So you can give Rachel a call if you'd like to take advantage of looking at your own portfolio, and we hope you take advantage of watching our next show. It's been a pleasure.
Yes,
Thank
I've
you, Phil.
enjoyed it. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.